Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Black Men Matter series on the male perspective. The podcast that's all about dispelling stereotypes and shining a light on the rich and varied experiences of Black men from all around the world. Each episode aims to broaden understanding and foster appreciation for their unique stories that often go unheard. Now, here is your host, Lana Reid, to introduce you to yet another remarkable Black man with an insightful perspective to share.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Male Perspective. I am your host, Lana Reid, and today, on this day, I have the pleasure of sitting down with a gentleman by the name of Sacher Dawson. He is the executive director and board president for Hope Farm, a very phenomenal organization doing some impactful work, life-changing work, mentoring work with our young boys out in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And I am looking forward to spending some time with him today, learning more about his work. But first and foremost, sir, as I always do, I take a quick moment to pause and say thank you to you for making time for me today. Time is a gift. Once we give it, we can't get it back. So I truly appreciate you setting aside this time to talk to little old me. And with
Absolutely.
that, sir, welcome. Awesome. Well, we've got a little bit of time and a long way to go, and I've already taken up a lot of your time talking before the interview. So let me jump right in here and get going. I want to start off talking about some of the history of Hope Farm. And I was on the website reading that it actually got started by a law enforcement professional. So I was wondering if you could speak to what was the motivation for starting it and what was some of the early work? What did that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So Hope Farm was incorporated in December 1st of 1990, and it was started by two law enforcement officers. And by being in law enforcement, they saw young African American boys being incarcerated at a unbelievable pace. And so, back in the time in the 90s, African Americans only made up about 12% of the population. But when you looked inside the prisons, it represented over 50% of the population. And so they realized that they couldn't do anything about what had already happened, but they could do something about the future. And so one of our co-founders actually went into a prison and spent some time with some of the inmates and talked to them. And so by sitting down and talking with them, the one thing that he found that all of them had in common is that they all grew up without a father in the home. And so that burden, God put that burden upon their hearts. And so they came back and then they started Hope Farm, which was a after-school leadership development program for boys with no fathers in the home. And the mission was to transform these youth into Christ-centered men of integrity, right? So that they can, in turn, change the trajectory of the community. And so they started out with 12 boys at an elementary school where they just started mentoring them. And then through a grant from Sid Richardson, they were able to purchase two old dilapidated crack houses that they turned into office buildings. And so in 1997, the first class of Hope Farm boys were born. And so they started teaching them, some very simple but profound things, such as, give someone a firm handshake, look them straight in the eyes, and articulate to them, how are you? Have a good day. Things like that. That was seemed very simple, but they were very fundamental. Mm-hmm. And so, and it started out with 12 boys, and then now it expounded throughout the DFW Metroplex. We have three campuses, two in Fort Worth and one in South Dallas. And so, and then about 10 or 15 years in, they realized that you can pour into the boys and you can pour into the boys. But unless you start pouring into the moms, your message was just going to get lost at home. Mm-hmm. And so that's when they started the Mother's Resource Program. So when the boys join, the single moms have to join as well. And that family holistic approach significantly increased the retention rates within the program. Because what would happen we would bring the boys in at 5 years old, but then when they become teenagers, they can go home and tell their moms anything, everything, right? And because they didn't know. But once they became part of the program and they saw what was happening and they could see young men changing, right? Then now it was a whole different ball game. And so now we've even enhanced that to another level so that the moms have to go through parent university, right? Parent university is parenting tips, spiritual tips,
Awesome.
professional development.
Awesome.
We have action plans for them as well. How do they better themselves? Because the boys need to see success at home.
True.
And we want to make sure that the behavior that we're teaching them here, they're modeling it at school, at home, and at Hope Farm. And
Awesome.
so, um, Mr. Randall retired in late 2016, and I came on in 2017. And so I had done 35 years of corporate America. And so I started volunteering at Hope Farm back in the late 90s. So I'd been a part of it. I knew what it was about. I just didn't see myself in retirement doing
Look at
ministry
God.
work. Yes. And so, and we don't even have time to go into the whole story on how it transformed. And then so my thing when I came in, I implemented what we call the the four pillars. And our four pillars are read, feed, parent, and empower. And so some would say, well, why read is the first pillar? Well, we all know that the great equalizer is education. And so, one of the great orators used to say, if you can read, you can lead.
There you go.
And so here in the state of Texas, depending on how many students fail the third grade reading literacy test, will determine how many prison beds that they build later. Yes, because they're saying if you don't learn how to read by third or fourth grade, you're probably not going to learn how to read. If you don't learn how to read, you're probably not going to graduate from high school. If you don't graduate from high school, you're not going to get a good job. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to end up on the wrong side of the law trying to make fast money. And so that's why they say, based on those numbers, they can tie them to, delinquency at a later date. And then our second pillar is feed. So 98% of the students in our program, we're in the right zip codes. We did this intentionally. 98% of our kids are from low income families. They get free breakfast at school. They get free lunch at school. But some of these kids didn't get a meal when they got home. So each afternoon at 5:30 on all our campuses, we provide dinner. So no one has to go to bed hungry. And so, and not only do we feed them nutritionally, but we feed them the word as well. So one of the main rotations in our structured program in the afternoon is Bible study. So there's biblical application and memory verses that are applied every day. We use the Awana curriculum. And so before I go any further, so here's how our program works. So the boys who go to school within a 5-mile radius of our campuses, we go to the schools and we pick them up at 3 o'clock. And then we bring them back to our facility. And then we start a structured program that consists of 4 rotations: Bible study, reading literacy lab, homework, tutoring, and rec. And then at 5:30, we provide dinner. So by the time mom picked them up at 6:30 at night, she can just give them a hug and a bath and put them in the bed because we're already taking care of the rest.
Beautiful.
And and that leads to our third pillar, which is parent. And so, as we said before, we already learned, you know, how, if we don't get the parents involved, our message just gonna get lost at home.
Mhm.
And so now when the boys join, single moms have to join, and that relationship, that holistic family relationship has just taken the program to another level. And that's what sets us apart from any other different after school program is
Mhm.
that the parent and the mom involvement. And I've had a mom that come to me. So all these things that we do, we charge $100 a year for our program. Mhm.
Whoa.
And so a mom told me once, she said, Mr. Dawson, I initially put my son in the program because it was cheap after school care. She said, I was paying more than $100 a week.
Yes.
And so she said, but 6 months later, I didn't even recognize my son because he was coming home saying, yes, ma'am, and yes, sir, and opening doors and pulling up chairs and the biblical application that they were learning at Hope Farm, they were coming home and sharing it with the rest of the family.
Mm.
And so it was just amazing. And then our final pillar, our fourth pillar, was empowerment, because our whole goal is to change the trajectory so that by the time the mom and the son leaves our program, we've equipped them with enough tools so that they have a chance in the world.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
And so our program is broken down into three parts. Um, Kindergarten through fifth or elementary, we focus on childhood reading literacy, discipline, and laying the foundation for Hope Farm. Sixth through eighth grade of middle school, we focus on core competency development, such as public speaking, critical thinking. We introduce them to vocational opportunities. And you want to say, okay, why vocational opportunities? Because we already know not all our young men are going to go to college, and nor should they. College is
Mhm.
not for everyone.
True.
But we need a viable alternative for these youth. And so there's a lot of great trade opportunities out there. And so we just finished building our vocational center. And so we're going to offer welding, light automotive mechanic, plumbing, IT, and culinary. And it won't be all just for the boys, right? The single moms, if they want to come in and learn a trade and better themselves, they'll
Mm.
have that opportunity as well. And
Yes.
and if you pick out the right trade, you can be better off than the college student. Because if a young man learns how to weld and he can get a job making $30 an hour, entry level welding,
Mhm.
right? He's going to be much better off than the college student that goes off for 4 years and graduate with $100,000 worth of student loan debt, and you might get a job,
Maybe.
right? And so, and also the vocational piece, it helps you think more entrepreneurially,
Mhm.
right? So now they got something they can leave as a legacy. Who knows? Your mom and son may go into business together.
True.
And so, that's where we are um, with our program.
Awesome work. So I heard you say you have three campuses now. About generally, how many boys do you get to service on a yearly basis?
Yeah, so right now we service 105 boys each day.
Each
And
day.
so, and we feed 105 boys predominantly. It costs us $7 per day per student to feed. And so, no, so our goal is to go deep with these young men, not
Mhm.
wide. So
Mhm.
our goal is no more than 50 boys per campus.
Okay.
And so currently, now one of the campuses, our original campus, we have 61, but 11 of them play sports. So
Mhm.
once they get to middle school, we allow them to play sports.
Okay.
So, because when you play sports, they don't come during their season. because they got practice and games, so they're not even here. But once their season is over with, they come back. So because they play sports, we allow 11 others to take those spots.
Mhm.
Our second location, we have 21 students there.
Okay.
And our third, in Dallas, we have 35 boys. And so within a year or two, we'll be maxed out in Dallas. We're already maxed out on our original campus. And then the third campus in 2 to 3 years, it'll be maxed out as well. So hopefully by that time, we've opened 2 or 3 more other campuses. Well,
Awesome.
so
Awesome.
generally what we try to do, once we get 50 on one campus, we try to go and open another one.
Mm, 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 mm. And I think what I'm hearing is one of the pieces that makes you unique is you don't touch your boys like once a month or maybe once a week. You're with
Every
them
day, Monday through
every.
Friday, Monday through Friday, yes. And that's the piece that's getting it. It's the consistency.
Mhm.
It takes us about 6 months to see the turn. We
Okay.
see the young men come in and the head is down, they're broken, and there's no hope. And
Mm.
then 6 months later, you see them and they're saying, yes, ma'am, and yes, sir. And they give you a firm handshake and they got that confidence, and you can see that spark in their eyes. There's
Mhm.
nothing more gratifying than that.
Yes.
You can see the turn right in front of your eyes.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Now, I heard you talk about two of the programs that you have. There's one more that I think I didn't hear, and I want to make sure the audience knows exactly what goes on there. Is the leadership development program? Could you kind of
Yes.
expound on the components of that? The boys, what do the boys do there?
Yeah. So, the leadership development program is all encompassing.
Okay.
And so when they come through the 4 rotations,
Oh,
each one of them is a leadership piece within
oh,
itself. And that's why we allow them to play sports as well, because sports is a leadership program within itself.
okay, gotcha.
And so our whole goal is to teach these young boys how to be Christ-centered men of integrity so our young ladies have someone they can marry and the
Hmm.
men can take their rightful place in the community. The reason why the community is out of whack is because the order is out of whack,
True.
right? This is God's order, not our order. That's what God says.
True.
Man is the head of the household, like Christ was the head of the church.
Mhm.
And so once we get that order back, then you will see um, the lack of chaos in the community.
Impact in our communities, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, awesome. So do some of your boys circle back and become mentors themselves?
So I'm glad you asked that question. So we have 3 young men who started as kindergartens, graduated from high school, graduated from college, and now they work for us.
Mm.
And so that's why we know the program works.
Mhm.
We have one of our young men who is a senior pastor at a church in Atlanta, Georgia. All right. We have one of our young men graduated and now he's a police officer in Arlington. Um, there's one young man, he's the assistant strength and conditioning coach, football coach at SMU. So, we got stories on and on and on and on. Most of these kids, when they came through, college wasn't even on their mind.
Mhm.
Nobody in their family had ever gone to college before,
Yeah.
right? These are all first generation college students. And now they're out there, they're, successful husbands and fathers and leaders in their communities. And so that's the win.
Mhm. It seems like a no-brainer, right?
Yeah, that's why we do what we do. It's all about the boys. And
Mhm.
so every young boy that grows up, he wants affirmation from his male father.
Mhm.
And so when that father is absent, that's where we step into the gap.
Mhm.
I can give you some, I can, fatherlessness is running rapid within our communities.
Mhm.
I can give you some stats, like it'll just blow your mind. For instance, 71% of all high school dropouts come from families with no fathers in the home. 75% of all people in a adolescent drug substance abuse centers, they come from families with no fathers in the home. 80% of violent crime and sex abusers come from families with no fathers in the home. 85% of kids with major behavior and learning differences come from families with no fathers in the home. 90% of all runaways come from homes without fathers.
Mm.
85% of all people in prison, they come from families with no fathers in the home. So this is why we do what we do. It's running rampant through our neighborhoods. Where there's fatherlessness, there's poverty. Where there's poverty, there's crime. If we can eradicate the fatherlessness, we can eradicate some of the crime and poverty.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a 1-2 punch right there.
Absolutely. Yes.
1-2 punch. So you like to get the boys enrolled in the program around 5 to 7, that I read that, right?
Correct. Yes.
When the parent brings the child to you, is there an understanding that this is not just for a year, like you're committing to see this child through high school?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's an orientation packet
Oh, okay.
that they have to go through. And so part of it is that when the moms join, we don't have to tell them it's for life. Once they're in it for 6 months, they see the difference.
This is value.
They come to us then. They're telling their girlfriends and everyone else, right? They have to do the first thing they know they got to do, they have to do 10 hours of volunteer work each semester.
Okay.
Right? They have to meet once a month, second Tuesday of every month.
Okay.
And we talk about what's going on, what's good, what's bad, the highs, the lows, so on and so forth. And those meetings are mandatory.
Okay.
And so but so many things happen is that during Christmas, we have donors who will buy Christmas gift for each and every one of the kids, not only the boys, but their siblings as well. And so, it's just a God thing. It's God touching these people's heart, wealthy people's heart, to say that it does our heart good to reach back and give back to someone who's less fortunate than we are. Yes.
So what's the next location looking like? Where will we be expanding outside of Dallas?
Well, you mean outside of the state of Texas?
Or even outside of Dallas, because the work.
Well, we will be outside of Dallas right now. So we've delved into Waco, we've delved into Louisville, Arlington. Hope Farm should be a national program.
That's what it sounds like, yes.
Right? We're waiting for 60 Minutes to come.
Okay. Who do we have to call? Who do we have to call?
Yeah, we are. So we've had some great speakers at our gala that should have went back and contacted the right people to say, hey, this is a program that needs national prominence. It only takes one billionaire, Bill Gates or someone to say, you know what, we value this program and we want you to open one in every state. Yeah.
So, that's another conversation, maybe why it's more comforting to not have our boys be successful.
Yeah. Well, that is a conversation for another day. Yeah, it is. I got some thoughts on that as well. Yeah.
Yes. Well, let me, because I was roaming around your Instagram page and I see the boys are doing some wonderful stuff. You've got some singers there. I saw they did the national anthem somewhere, right?
Yeah, actually, so they are singing the national anthem tonight at the TCU Notre Dame game. And next Friday, they're singing the national anthem at the Dallas Mavericks game.
Don't count our boys out. Do not count our boys out.
Absolutely.
They are so talented.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. So that's what we're all about here too, is doing exposure. We take them and do things that they wouldn't ordinarily see in this community. Each February, 5 boys go skiing in Colorado. Each Thanksgiving holiday, they go hunting. on the ranch out there. Um, they go to New York. We do the HBCU college trip tours. Um, on and on and on and on. They go to the symphony, just
Exposure is
things with
so
culture
key.
that they wouldn't ordinarily do or see. And
Exposure
and
is
so and it's a residual effect, right? Because these boys are going and they're telling their friends at school, their cousins, and we never know. There's a residual effect that we're never going to know about because they're not in the program.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So they go back and say, hey, there's a whole world out there that's bigger than this little.
absolutely.
That is
And they
so.
become leaders, right? So those other people who was out there following the drug dealers in the wrong crowd, now they're following the Hope Farm boys, and it's changing the community.
Changing the whole trajectory of the
Yeah,
community. Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome work. Awesome work. Well, I have one more question, I think, before I ask you my random question. And it's kind of a question of reflection. Because you have been doing this work so long, Hope Farm has been doing this work for so long, and you've seen the impact of fatherlessness. If you had the opportunity to stand for a father who was not actively involved and engaged in his son's life, if you could just say one or two nuggets of information to him, what would you say to him?
Yeah, so that's a really good question because right now we're actually, trying to embark on a program, a breakfast program where we can get some of these men together so that they can get a second chance. And
Okay.
so if I had one thing to ask them, I would ask them, first I'll say, who taught you how to be a man?
Mm-hmm.
And then they probably gonna say, I learned it from the streets, right? And I'm saying, do you want the same thing for your son?
Mm-hmm.
Or would you want to teach him how to be a man? I said,
Mm-hmm.
somebody's going to teach him how to be a man. It's either going to be you, he's going
Or
to
the
learn from the
streets.
streets, or he's going to learn from somebody else.
Yeah.
I
Mm-hmm.
tell my daughter that when she goes out on a date with a young man, I tell them, ask them the first question, who taught you how to be a man? If
Mm-hmm.
they can't answer that right off, that means they learned it from the streets.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a red flag.
And we shouldn't be investing time there, right?
Yeah.
We should be investing time there. Well, let me ask you before I go, is there any other question I missed that I might need to ask you?
Yeah, so let me tell you about some upcoming events. So,
Okay.
we're going to be on the balancing act, and Montel Williams is going to do the monologue. And so it's going to be, yes, tomorrow. It'll be on our local channels here, channel 33, KW, KW, KDFW. And on Sunday at 1:30, it'll be on channel 27, KDFI. And so they're coming in and doing a piece on fatherlessness.
Okay.
And they chose us to be one of the groups that's gonna be on television. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. So the boys will be there showing, what they've
Well,
learned and all.
they'll have some B-rolls from the boys, but a lot of it is the staff and some of the moms. Yeah, and one of the boys did get interviewed out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So, and that speaks to, I totally forgot that speaks to the dedication and commitment of the staff too. So I want to make sure that we, applaud everybody there because it takes a whole team, I'm sure, to keep the boys engaged and involved and pouring into them. So,
It does. So let me tell you about the staff. So the thing about Hope Farm is that everybody that works for Hope Farm is like God plucked them out of the sky and placed them here because
mm-hmm.
they all have a story. They should easily be somewhere else, or
Mm-hmm.
they shouldn't be. It's like me, right? I was retired. I had money. I had 500,000 sky miles. I just wanted to travel. I had all these beaches lined out, you know. But Mr. Randall told me, he says, let me tell you, Sacher, he says, if the Lord's got something for you to do, you don't even have a choice.
That's right.
He said, you can forget about him calling you to do something you'd have already mastered.
Mm-hmm.
That if he's going to call you to do something, it's going to be hard and it's going to be challenging because when you're successful at it, you got to give him the glory because it couldn't have been you.
See what happened with Jonah in that well. He tried to hide, but eventually,
Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, you got to answer the call if you want peace.
That's right. So the
Yeah,
staff is doing some phenomenal things, and it
they are
just
doing
takes.
some phenomenal thing. It's the best staff, I tell you, and they're passionate about it. It's not even a job; it's
Mhm.
ministry, and that's the way they approach it.
Beautiful, beautiful. So we got to watch Montel, and we got to figure out how we're going to connect to get the right person at 60 Minutes to come out and speak to
Yeah,
you. So we
yeah,
got to start looking for that and see, because we need this to be spread out across the nation in our
absolutely.
community. So let me ask you my random question, and I'm going to ask you to tell us how we connect with you
Okay.
and see. What's one item on your bucket list since you didn't get
One,
to
I
retire?
yeah. Well, and I started doing it. Actually, I haven't been to all 50 states in the United States yet.
Okay.
So that's going to be one. And then I want like a 3-week tour in Europe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Hopefully the boys will give you some time away so to do that. So
Well, so my goal is by 70. So I'm gonna set this up so well. So by the time I'm 70, it can transition up to the other groups, and then I can ride off and do all those things that I was gonna do when I
when
first
you
retired.
so you're training somebody to pass the baton to.
Absolutely.
Awesome, awesome. Well, tell us how we connect with Hope Farm and peek in, give donations, maybe come and see one of the galas.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Hope Farm, the main way to connect with us is via our website. Our website is www.hopefarm.org. And so you can click on the donation button and make a donation. There's a drop down box. We have certain categories that the donation can go toward, so you can determine which section of a Hope Farm you want to donate to. Yeah, our address is 865 East Ramsey Avenue in Fort Worth. That's our corporate office. We have a very beautiful campus now. We've evolved from two crack houses to a campus, and we would love for you to come out. We have a family life center. We got a vocational center, a mother's resource center. We have 12 buses that we go out to pick the students up on. And so it's just a magnificent campus. And we would love for you to come out and meet our boys. I guarantee you, you will not come out and shake their hands and not be convicted.
Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. Okay, so we're gonna have to get down there and see Hope Farm. So awesome. Well, Mr. Dawson, I want to thank you, the staff. Serving is a often underappreciated task. So from little old me, I want to give my thanks and appreciation to you and the staff at Hope Farm. Uh, it is so important that we pour into our future generation because they need they just need strong shoulders to stand on, and sometimes we're not giving them that. So it's nice to see somebody who's taken up that charge, and I'm so confident that the boys are better for Hope Farm for it. So it
Yeah.
I'll just keep on doing God's work.
Can I add one more thing, Lana?
You can add 2 or 3 more things.
All right. So right now we're in the midst of a capital campaign. It's a $4
Okay,
million
okay.
dollar capital campaign. And that is to finalize our vocational center, 500,000. And then we want to open an academy, kindergarten through fifth, because we are seeing the disservice that the public school system is doing to our kids. And so we want to be able to set up the model school so that the kids come in, they kindergarten through fifth, and when they graduate from fifth grade, then we determine which school they go to. Some may go
Mm,
to YMLA, Young Man Leadership Academy. Some may go to All Saint Christian School
mm,
or um, another Christian school, or some may go to public school because they're really good in sports and they need the tough
mm.
competition. Um, and so that's part of what we want to do. And it's going to take that to get all of that up and going and running. And so I would appreciate if anybody wants to help out and contribute toward that, please go to our website, look at our capital campaign. You can donate to that as well. No amount is too big, no amount is too small.
That's right. So the capital campaign, we're looking for the K through 12 building, and then
K
adding
through
to the
fifth.
vocation. Okay.
Yeah, so the building will cost us 2.5 million, and 500,000 to kind of put the equipment and everything in the vocational center, which is already built. And then we need $1 million for the teachers, the chairs, and the curriculum, and which would be 2 years of operating costs.
Okay. Easy peasy. God will provide.
Yes,
God will.
ma'am.
He has been so far, so he will continue, especially when you're doing God's work. So just phenomenal. We hear so many negative stories, and then here comes Hope Farm with just a whole ray of light. It's so beautiful. And my spirit is full. Thank you so much for the work. Thank you for your time. And I just appreciate you pouring into the future generation, you and the entire staff. So I know it's a team.
All right. Thank you. Have a great weekend.
That is all for this week's episode of The Male Perspective. I'm your host, Lana Reid, and I will see everybody next time.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Black Men Matter series on the Male Perspective. This podcast is an initiative of Conversations in Color, a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to uplifting Black voices. Make sure to check out our website, conversationsincolor.org, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platforms. We'll see you on the next episode.